Omega just launched their celebration of the 75 years of their Seamaster line with a slew of new releases. We're definitely going to talk about this, what I like, what I don't like, and what I love. Because there's definitely one thing that's blown my mind. But only one. Well, okay, one and a half. Omega announced the launch of 8 new watches in their Seamaster line. So a 38mm Aquaterra, a 41mm, the World Timer, Seamaster 300 and 300M, the Planet Ocean, the Ultra Deep, and the Ploprof. The key theme of this release is the 75th anniversary of the Seamaster line. So all models get an engraving on the back. All models are shaded in a new colorway called Summer Blue. The Summer Blue color is a fume dial style with a gradated lighter center and deeper outer. As the watch's depth rating increases, the dial gets progressively darker. Bar one watch, there are really no technical changes to the designs of the watches. Not at least as far as I can tell. What I like the marketing. I really think from a marketing perspective that they've done something good. The timing of the release is great with Summer Blue and a summer release. Connecting all the Seamasters to one release is also excellent, and that detail of gradating the dials based on how deep the watch goes is super cool. In a way, you kind of want to own all the watches so you can own the effect from, lightest to the darkest model. What I don't like, the shallow colors. I haven't had these dials in the metal yet, but my instinctive reaction is that I don't like the color on the shallow depth models, the Aquaterra 38 and the 41 being the worst. I don't think it's just me. Deeper, darker, more saturated colors typically resonate more than lighter dials with people. Of course, there will be people that like it, but for me, I can almost order my preference for the individual watches in terms of depth rating. So my favorites are the Ultra Deeps and the Ploprofs and the Planet Oceans. And my least favorites are the Aquaterras. I also don't like that there are no updates. Apart from one watch, Omega doesn't seem to have iterated on the design of these individual watches. That means the Aquaterra 38 is still too feminine for me and it's not unisex enough. I do not like the rounded date window and the rice bead hour markers I've never liked. The 41mm, it could also do with a dial surround like the Aquaterra Shades models have. I also still don't like the bracelet, and Omega could have done well to update it both aesthetically and also technically in terms of easy adjustments and so on. The World Timer is still too chunky for me. They should have stuck with the dial pattern that the titanium version has. It slims the watch down significantly, and that includes the dial pattern and the date window, which should be a trapezoid, not a oval. The 300M still has that bracelet, which is probably one of the most scorned bracelets on the market. Also, a minor tweak to the scallop bezel with maybe thinning it a smidge or aiming for a 41mm version would have been on my wish list. The date window is color matched though. The 300 is okay. The date window on the Planet Ocean feels out of place. There's one last thing I don't like. These watches are all being released in November, and that's not summer. Well, it is in South Africa, but it kind of defeats the purpose of a summer release of a summer blue watch. I mean, come on, Omega. When you announce something, you release it within a month from the day you start talking about the watch. It just annoys me. Now, what do I really like? The Ultra Deep is stunning. The dial is patterned to resemble the ocean floor of where this watch has actually been. The deep, dark summer blue hue is absolutely gorgeous. It's just so intense and so in keeping with the purpose of the watch. It also has this little party feature that enthusiasts are going to love, and that's the lume on the dial face will say Omega was here, which is just totally cool. The watch also doesn't have a date window, which makes for a totally harmonious dial, the best of the bunch, but it's not my favorite of the bunch. The watch I love is the Ploprof. I haven't had this watch in hand, but I can tell you this. I'm starting to save up for buying this watch right now. I will be buying this watch, there's no doubt. I've never owned a Ploprof. I always thought it was an absolute beast of a watch with a really cool backstory, but at the end of the day, it was, unwearable. I thought it had so much more to offer than, like a deep sea challenge from Rolex, because the deep sea challenge was just a Submariner in extra, extra large. The Ploprof isn't a Seamaster 300M in extra large. It has its own design, but it's still always been unwearable for me at least. It was unwearable because of the size, but not entirely. I mean, I wear a GWG Mudmaster, so the Ploprof size-wise isn't a lot worse than that. The problem for me with the Ploprof has always been the case styling and the colorways that just made it look, well, to me at least, unappealing, garish, over the top. Not so with this model. First of all, the lug-to-lug is technically the same, but they have actually slimmed the tops and bottoms of the case to reduce the case height by 3mm. They achieved this with a combination of changes that I universally agree with. 1. The bezel knurling used to be on an aggressive incline with large spacing between the individual indentations. The slope has been changed to the actual bezel, which makes it less visible from a top-down perspective and comes across as a hell of a lot more refined. It's not as industrial, toolish and mechanical as the previous iterations. Because of this change in incline, they've been able to chop off 1.5mm on each end. That will do a lot for the overall wearing experience. The bezel itself seems to also have been slimmed down a tad, as far as I can tell, also making for a more balanced look. The crown on the left also forgoes the classic chunky finishing with a more refined gear pattern, which matches the bezel edge ridges quite excellently. Again, it's something that refines the look of the watch. The crown guard design has also changed, so the guard ends up protruding less, and like I said, makes this watch overall more refined. I also never liked the beaded bracelet, so this blue rubber strap is a huge improvement as far as I'm concerned. Finally, I absolutely love this colorway. I know it's not in keeping with the original look of the Ploprof, but I'm all about aesthetics, and this deep dark blue, the blue accent on the locking and unlocking mechanism, is totally awesome. It's ridiculous how good looking I think this watch is. So let's not kid ourselves. It's a 55 by 45mm watch with 15.5mm in thickness. This is nowhere near an under the cuff watch. But Omega has definitely put something together that I will definitely wear. It's just so ridiculously good looking. Not a lot of people are going to buy the Ploprof. That's not going to change. It's still too big for a lot of people, but damn, they knocked it out of the park with this particular one. Those are my 2 cents. What do you think about these watches? Let me know in the comments. Like, subscribe. Cheers.